Well, hello, everyone. It's exactly 14 minutes, or no, 15, since I sent a tweet. Well, how did the tweet go? Sorry, I've messed it up already, and
Yeah.
we're not even 30 seconds in.
Well, yeah, it was the most Kristi Winters thing ever because she's the most incredibly punctual and stickler for time and all the rest of it. And just to let you peer behind the curtain at our organisation, she usually sends like a link to the things like 10 minutes before the start, obviously. But she also likes to send a message saying, "I'm going to send you a link at such and such a time." And she sent me a message on the Facebook Messenger saying, "I'll send you a link in 14 minutes, not 15 minutes, not 10 minutes, not like in a little bit.
Well,
14 minutes. I
it
loved
was
it."
36 minutes after the hour, so I had to do the math to figure out what would make to 50. And
But I know. Oh, yeah. Okay. I mean, you can't argue with the correctness of it, but that's
yeah.
I mean that's sort of the point. Is that it specifically said 14 minute points. That's quintessential Winters.
And then I had a moment of panic because as I was doing the copying and pasting of the link, I had to open up Facebook and my computer was really slow. And I was absolutely just sort of panicked that it was going to land at 51 minutes past the hour. Not panic.
Such a geek.
But I was like checking my computer, like, come on, I can make it. I told him 14 minutes.
Indeed.
So hello, everyone. Oh, yeah.
Hello, everyone. I was just going to do my the random bit of pub trivia thing because I found a great one on the telly today.
Yeah.
Of the 10 most populous cities in the United States, only one is a state capital. Which one is it?
Oh. Let's see. It's not New York. It's not Chicago.
This is exactly what I did. I said it was not the.
Yeah, it's not San Francisco. It's not LA.
Yeah, it's.
Is Boston the capital of Massachusetts and the?
Well, I asked that, and I think it is, but I don't think it's in the top 10.
Oh, okay, all right. Miami's not the capital of Florida.
Tallahassee.
Yeah. And Dallas is a bigger city than Austin.
Indeed.
And it has to be in the top 10. This is really a hard question.
It is a very hard one. I didn't get it.
Should we see anyone in the chat gets it? No, they won't get it.
I should probably get the page open so we can even look at it. Because there's no point in me abusing them without me seeing their reactions to my abuse.
So Whistler went for Miami, but as you pointed out, Tallahassee and Electric Mayhem Ashley said Boston too, but not in the top 10.
Not in the top 10, no. Do you want me to just reveal it?
Yeah.
Because it really will drive.
Oh, you started. What? Hello.
It's a place in London. It's not, and also Tatooine, which is silly. It's Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh.
Yeah. Which I mean, I would never have gotten that one.
No.
Ashley came through with Phoenix, and she will hear me the answer in about 10 seconds. So yeah.
I was almost going to say Washington D.C., but of course it's not a state capital.
No.
Unless you consider it the United States capital, but that's
it's a state capital. That's the question.
That's a federal capital.
Anyway.
Yes. All right. So now we know something. Bit of trivia. Excellent. All right. So you offered during the hangout and to talk about some of. Well, the thing is, okay. There's this. It's not really drama, it's Twitter drama, to be honest. But this is part of a larger symptom, and that's kind of what I want to talk about. So we're going to talk about a couple things, hopefully in the hangout or the happy hour tonight. One is why Matt Dillahunty blocked me and Thomas Smith and some other people. But more importantly, what is it about the atheist movement that makes women feel unwelcome? And I want to reference to an excellent podcast that was put out by Godless Mama, where she interviews Wendy Marsman. I also was hoping tonight to talk about the start of a paper that I saw presented. It's sort of, like the beginnings of an idea that you present and then you get feedback from, looking at Jordan Peterson as sort of a person who has a fandom by this researcher. And so
it's not even a fandom, it's a cult. That's what it is.
Right. Well, the theory.
Massive cult.
the theory is about fandom. That's how it's, you know, conceptualized and analyzed. And the last thing is this a more stupid, dumb Twitter drama. The fact that Bearings fans decided to basically flag tweets that weren't harassment as harassment, to false flag my account. And so we'll get to that, I'm sure, at the end. But yeah, let's start at the beginning. Kevin, I feel like I've done a lot of the talking. So do you want me to give like the backstory, or do you want to give the backstory of this one?
Lazy bitch. What the? Okay, I'll talk. Well, that's the thing. You led off the thing by saying it's Twitter drama, but it sort of is and sort of isn't. I'll let you speak to the exact conversation, although I have read it, but obviously it's your experience with Matt in a second. But I responded to, I think, a Thomas Smith Facebook post about this. Matt Dillahunty has, for a while, been treading on pretty fucking thin ice with me. His reaction to last year's MythCon was underwhelming, to say the least. Although there were good points, there were certainly some. There's always a certain amount of obfuscation with him that essentially he wants to play a little bit on both sides and keep the money rolling in, which is, I mean, ultimately you sort of can't blame him for wanting to have a career. You can blame him for wanting a career at all costs. Then came his reactions to the Lawrence Krauss sexual assault allegations, which were again underwhelming to a really disappointing extent. And against my better judgment, I gave him another chance. And then comes this nonsense with, like I say, on the face of it, would just be Twitter drama. He blocked both Kristi and Thomas Smith of the Serious Inquiries Only podcast, who I've had on my channel, and Kristi's been on his podcast and all the rest of it. He's a superb young man, who people will remember, obviously, from the Saga Macad MythCon shitfest. Yeah, he'd been blocking those two people who, for me, are reformers. And I'm talking about you as if you're not in the room, Kristi. Apologies, but you get the idea, right? They're reformers in the community. They want an end to sexual assault. Everyone in theory wants an end to sexual assault, but these people actually want to do something about it, rather than just putting out statements saying we want to end sexual assault. And in blocking them for daring to speak out and daring to even mildly criticise him for his response, his entirely inadequate response to sexual assault in the community, I think is incredibly telling as to the kind of spineless, misogynistic, money-chasing piece of shit that he is. And for me, he's dead. He broke my heart, frankly, because at one point I considered him something of an atheist hero, one of the few voices out there telling it right. Not always in perfect agreement politically, but telling it right and fighting the good fight. And it turns out he's just like so many of the rest of them, like Carrier and I'm not saying he's as bad as Krauss, but he's in league with Krauss as far as I'm concerned. And he can go fuck himself. So if you want to tell us about the exact conversation that you had.
Okay. Well, I guess I should preface it by saying Matt blocking me does not change my life at all. I didn't follow him. I wasn't a regular viewer of the Atheist Experience, and I've seen him speak a couple times, and I know, to be honest, Matt has done good things and said good things, and I know maybe it's because he had farther to fall with you. Like, for me, from what I see, he's got value commitments that if he could just kind of see things a little bit different, he would change. I haven't lost hope, basically. I don't put him in the same category as Sam Harris. I think that there's still I would hope so, because I think he could, if he gets a bit woke on this stuff and realizes the way that he thinks he's being helpful is actually not being helpful. This is it. I think he thinks he's doing the right thing, and that he's coming at it from honest. Right, but and when it's being pointed out to him, he's getting defensive and shutting people down.
Well, this is the point, right? I think you're being overly optimistic, if you don't mind me saying.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he has any interest other than sustaining his career, which means he has to keep him. I mean, he said he's not going to appear with Krauss, but he also isn't really condemning Krauss, and he's making excuses like, "Oh, I was on a plane. I didn't. That's why I didn't come out." No, you were waiting to see which way the land lie, and then you come out and said some shit. I don't think he has any interest in becoming woke, because I think already he knows what's right and what's wrong, and he's just acting in his own financial interest.
Okay. Well, I guess my take is different, and that's fine. We can agree to disagree. I just
no, we can't. We have to have intellectual purity.
You know,
that's how it works.
And maybe because I'm a politician and I'm used to people like, screaming at each other one day and then helping each other with a compromise to get something they both want past the next. I would like it if Matt would come over and sort of see things from, listen to the critiques and realize that we're doing it not because we want to attack him, but because we want to focus on the problem. And he is distracting from focusing on the problem, and that is a problem. And the way that, just the various critiques. And if nothing else, I hear you. And I've said things in ways that made people angry, and I disagreed. It doesn't really, I don't want to tell him what to do. He's a grown man. He can decide what it is. It's just fine, whatever. I just don't have all hope is lost for Matt. So just to give you the Twitter drama, there was, I think I can't remember where it started on, but it was a thread about, I think, Seth and his extremist comments. And under that, somebody maybe had written something about Matt and his appearance on the Gaytheist.
Be fair, right? You've got to describe this correctly. It wasn't his extremist comments. It was you being.
Oh, right. Yeah. Thank you.
You are an extremist.
So can I just put out to the audience here?
Kristi Al-Qaeda Winters.
So for the record, I'm going to beg the audience's indulgence because I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning in Cardiff, took a bus to the airport in Bristol, then got on a plane and went to Amsterdam, and then made a connecting flight to Dusseldorf, and took a train back to Cologne, and then picked up my dad from the train station an hour later and got him all settled in. I'm a little on the tired side. So Kevin, you are my safety net tonight. If I say things that slide, please call me out on it. I appreciate it. Because sometimes you hear what I mean, not what I say.
Well, so I shouldn't make jokes like the last one. I should actually pull you up on a serious thing. Because I'm not sure I'm really the man for that job. I'll be honest with you. I'm probably. Also, you can't make the excuse, I got this plane and that plane. It wouldn't matter if you stayed where you were from, you immigrants coming over here, plane rides, inviting their parents over for incredibly pleasant family vacations.
And some Walker's salt and vinegar crisps, 3 bags I took with me. I paid for them.
Well,
but there are 3 fewer bags of crisps for Britons.
Well, not just that, but I mean, you can have those because, frankly, salt and vinegar are such a crime against humanity that I'm beginning to agree with Seth Andrews about you. Extremist.
Salt and vinegar extremist.
Exactly.
Right. So not big potato, not like not American size bags, like snack pack. So I can't fit 3 bags of like.
Disgusting. You know who else ate salt and vinegar crisps? Hitler, probably.
Probably. So. Well, he wasn't a sadist according to Sargon, but he probably did like salt and vinegar crisps.
Exactly. And Carl would never say something that's really, really stupid and incorrect. So clearly he wasn't, obviously.
All right, this conversation is careening off into weird tangents about Hitler.
Exactly. I'm just, I think
real. Am I awake? Is this a dream?
Well, this is the thing, right? You're supposed to be the adult in the room, but you're so fucking jet lagged, you mashed up your tits.
Basically, you're the substitute teacher.
Yeah, this is the insane running the asylum at this point. This is ridiculous. Anyway,
all right, so we were talking about.
You were just talking about being blocked because you dared.
Right.
So, light-hearted topics.
I don't know why someone was criticizing Matt Dillahunty, but I piped up with my opinion that I thought he talked about himself far too much on the Gaytheist Manifesto interview. He said, I, me, or mine, far more than he said the words victim or, or whatever else I said. I can't remember exactly, but that's pretty close. Thing is, I'm blocked from seeing Matt's stuff now, so I can't see what he said. So you'll have to go and check it out yourself if he hasn't blocked you. And then he jumped in and basically said, I was answering the questions that I was given or something. And I said, at any time you could have said, these are important things to talk about, but what I really want to talk about here tonight are the problems and the solutions, but you didn't. And then he replied back saying that if he had done that, it would have been a deflection. In which case I was like, wait, sorry. What? How? So I'm sorry, you coming on to talk about your poor reaction to Krauss and the sexual assault allegations, you actually talking about the problem is a deflection from what exactly? But I couldn't reply because by that time he blocked me.
Someone's Larry. Oh, Larry. Hello, Larry. You still haven't actually mirrored the thing we did with.
Oh,
Larry.
it's because I had a lot of content and then I was on the road and I told him about it was going to be Monday, but then Monday I was like, oh, Monday was crazy.
Fucking excuses.
Yeah, just presenting 2 papers and tearing 2 panels and like, oh yes, I had all the time in the world.
Look, you've got to decide what's more important, some random internet stuff or the real world.
So he knows I got a rain check. Yeah, he's got a rain check for me.
Larry, who I'm loyal to, and I actually mirror the fucking thing. Larry says the thread was started by Thomas Smith himself.
Oh, that's right. He was. What was it? Does Larry go on to say what Thomas had asked? What was the content of it?
Yeah, he says. I'll read out his exact quote. He says, "Oh, that thread Kristi mentioned was started by Thomas Smith. He was trying to see if he could have a conversation with Seth and a feminist about his shitty behavior."
It's all coming back to me now, right?
Yes.
And that's how the whole like sitting down with a feminist maybe link went in. Thank you, Larry.
Yeah. Yeah. But remember, Larry, remember which one's your favorite out of the 2 of us. Just remember.
So, I mean, I literally, I called him, I didn't insult him. I didn't swear at him. I mean, I gave him a little bit of sass, but the fact is that, he was like, reading through a thread and who am I? Like, why do you care what I think, Matt Dillahunty? You got all snarky with somebody with like 6,000 subs on YouTube? Really? Like, yeah, I am not a huge voice in the community.
Yeah, it is incredibly thin-skinned, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's pretty, it's not inaccurate. His defense wasn't, I didn't do that. It was, I was justified in talking about myself. And it's like, the interviewee always has control over the content because they are the ones responding and taking up most of the time. Look at how, as I pointed out on Twitter, how Jordan Peterson turns answers around that he doesn't want to give into something he does want to talk about. So you're telling me that Matt Dillahunty, Mr. Master Debater, Mr. will take on anyone and crush their arguments, didn't think that he had a strategy of going into that hangout and trying to make some amends and to look forward? What are you doing?
Yeah, it's bullshit because I mean he does a show, The Atheist Experience, where he literally takes random callers and has answers for them. But yet this thing he had time to prepare for, well, apparently would have been a deflection to actually talk about the issue. What a dick.
So yeah, I mean, and the thing is, like I said, I'm more optimistic than you, but I just wanted him to see the optics of it, that him talking about himself when there are bigger problems to talk about sort of makes the point that the problems aren't being taken seriously. That's the point. We're talking about you means that we're not talking about the problem. So why are we still talking about you? Because you're talking about you. Why are you talking about you? You should be talking about the problem and the solutions.
Well, no, this is part of the reason why I think he's just interested. Is concerned, he is the thing to be talked about. He is the thing he's interested in. Hello?
Sorry, my mouse got away from me. I had traffic, and trying to keep that noise out. Yeah, so that's like a thing that happened on Twitter. And the sort of like the closing off of, people would always accuse us of having echo chambers, and I'm not accusing Matt of having an echo chamber. He does block at will, but I don't think he isn't willing to engage with people if they in certain conditions, right?
I'd be interested to see how many people have made essentially rape apologetics comments under his threads and under his videos and stuff. How many of those fucking people has he blocked?
Well, that I couldn't tell you.
I'm just putting it out there as a sort of a thought for people.
Rhetorical question?
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to do the fucking research on that because that would take forever. But I would hazard a guess that he's more zealous of blocking people who make mild constructive criticisms at him than of people who essentially want Lawrence Krauss to get away with his indiscretions.
And I get that people have heroes, but if there's something we really need to learn, and maybe it's the problem with the way that we teach kids or we encourage kids to idolize others through the way that media is constructed in hero narratives. But, people are hugely flawed. And all throughout history, we've seen individuals, Margaret Sanger was a vital person in establishing birth control and family planning and the importance of women's reproductive health and dealing with population issues and fertility issues. And she was a racist and a classist. So how do you put those two things together? It's difficult, but and it's the same thing with like these the guys who are running, who are the faces of the atheist movement, that their fans, I think, need to take a step back and go, you know what, they're not perfect people. And when they make, in your opinion, make mistakes, how are you going to react to that? And more importantly, I think, are you going to try to make the person that you think they are, encourage them to be better? Now, obviously, Twitter isn't a great place to encourage people. And I think what might help Matt is when he's done I don't think we should go coddle him. We shouldn't go chase after him. Go let him have his, angry time. But maybe at some point in the future, he's going to soften a little bit and reflect a little bit, and someone he trusts can sit down with him in a situation where it's not so defensive and going, blocking Thomas Smith, I think that was a heat of the moment kind of thing, and start to work from there. But yeah, I think, you don't hero worship me or Kevin or anybody out there, because people ultimately, have a good chance of disappointing you. Some of them won't. Some of them turn out to be really good, decent human beings. But
you should worship Hero Rory Cats, because he's fucking awesome.
Yeah. But the movement needs people who are willing to take on this moral challenge and talk about it and be committed to it and support the people who are willing to work on it. There's only so much I can do from Germany. I have my voice, I have a little bit of money, and I have my passion. But if I can help inspire or help out somebody who is actually doing on the ground work, then that is, my best way of being helpful. And that's where I want to kind of, move a little bit beyond the drama, although I think it's still important to point out some of these drama things because they are symptoms of the problem. But I really do think that, I want to in the future do more discussions about making spaces for women within atheism that aren't like just women only spaces. Like, how do we make spaces more friendly so that women do feel welcome? Or where do we create spaces for women who don't feel comfortable in the current movement and provide an alternative? And I'm going to mute myself now and kick it over to you, Kevin, because there's a motorcycle in my street.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's only fair that if we're talking about making space for women, then you should absolutely ask a man to talk.
Okay, all right, there we go. Thanks for that cover. Thanks for covering for me. Hey, you're not my shield, right?
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. I'm not your shield. I'm your stand-in.
Filler.
Yeah,
You're my filler.
I'm your fucking paperweight. That's what I am. Anyway.
So let's transition from this into the sort of like the problem with fans who feed the narrative that a person is doing the right thing and saying the right things. And I wanted to just drop in here. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I'm sorry. I'm moving on the conversation, and I'm not sure if Kevin's had his chance. So before I just woman-splain all over this topic, Kevin, do you have anything more to add on? Oh, we're going to talk about Wendy. That was right next. But any other thoughts on making the movement better?
Well, I can only assume that having asked me to speak, there's more traffic going past or something. Is that what's happened there? I don't know. No, I'm basically done. I'm done. Yeah, I think I've said what I wanted to say on that.
And I also should say that, when we had our talk with PZ, he mentioned Skepticon is a good conference. There are good conferences out there, and there are good atheist groups. And by focusing so much on the negative, I think we tend to, at least I should say, I am worried that we don't give enough sort of credit to that. So it is important to focus on the problems, but it is also as important to say that there are good people putting on good conferences who have commitments to humanism and its principles, who are hardworking, who are trying to create the places and spaces online and in real life where atheist communities can form. Because one of the things that I know from my preliminary research into deconversion, the loss of religious community for people who are of faith and moving into atheism is one of the more emotionally difficult processes that they have to go through, of not seeing those people anymore, having those connections. And we do really well in the atheist community on the logic side and the reason side and the science side, but we need to be better on the psych side and the counseling, like is giving people counseling, but understanding that in some ways for people coming out of religion, they're in a form of grief and healing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And there's no space for those emotions in the sort of clinical Spock-like space that characterizes what most people think of or should be thought of as movement atheism.
Yeah, well, I certainly went through that kind of grief stage. Although, to be honest, it was sort of before. I mean, the internet existed, but the idea of like the atheist community didn't really. So I'm not sure how I would have reacted to that, but I think you're correct.
I feel like I'm doing a lot of the talking tonight. So why don't we do a little sidebar before we go on to our next topic? Which, if we talk about, well, yeah, go ahead. I'm all over the place. I should not be running the show. Why am I running the show, Kevin? You're my co-pilot, and I'm the drunk pilot.
You disappeared, and I didn't know if I was talking, and I was talking, and I thought, I'm not sure this is being broadcast, but, you know.
What?
And now I'm making noise because I'm trying to find a fucking wire to...
This is a disaster. This is going to go... I'm pretty sure this is going to wake up.
Oh, bollocks.
Oh, my. All right. So, yeah, I'm kicking it over to you. Or are you just making noise in the background and boring our listeners? All right. Kev, where are you?
Right. And yeah, my earphones dropped out, so I couldn't. I don't know what the fuck you just said. You could have been saying anything. You're
gonna have to go back and watch.
Oh,
I can't remember.
Yeah, but then I'll have to listen to me talking, and I'm enough. That's the worst thing about having to edit videos is listening to myself and thinking, you boring fuck. Jesus, put a bit of life into it, man. But there you go.
I've really become entirely desensitized from that part of making videos. At first, it was really difficult to hear my voice and see my face. I think a lot of people go through that process unless they've done a lot of stuff before YouTube. But now I just see myself sort of as a product. Like don't cut. Like when my eyes are closed or whatever. Like try to make it look nice and put it in the center frame and not sound terrible. But yeah, I'm totally desensitized to that now. How have you been doing YouTube for years? You still get annoyed by the sound of your own voice?
No, it's not the sound of the voice.
Oh, okay.
There's a kind of drone that I do, and it's just kind of a bit. I have to remind myself not to be monotone, if that makes sense. So it's not the voice as such, because I quite like my voice, and
yeah, I do too.
Americans are fucking mental. They seem to enjoy it as well. So
you need to spend some time in Wales. The little sing-songy Wales accent, and then to get some more melody in your.
Oh no! I've got friends in Wales, and I love them dearly. But I have to say I couldn't live there.
All right, can you do a Welsh accent?
Well, I could, but it would be very racist. So I should.
How is it racist to do a Welsh accent? Or are you just afraid about how bad it is? I think this is you're just
atrocious. Yeah. Well, it is right. They're not just a different race. I think they're a different species, to be honest.
That's racist.
That is racist. Yeah. Well, it wouldn't be a Kev video without some casual racism. Well, that's English privilege. You're allowed to be racist. It's sort of part of the DNA, really. Anyway, I'm sure we were talking about something serious at one point.
Oh, yeah, but we needed that break. We talked about the sidebar, and it ended up being you making noise in the back room, me losing control of the show, and then somehow ending up on this topic.
Yeah,
so
it would have been fine if I just muted myself, because then I could have made as much noise as I wanted to, and gotten to the wire quickly and plugged it in and come back, and people would barely have noticed. But instead, I sort of tried to rustle quietly, which meant I wasn't getting anywhere near the wire. Fucking nightmare! And then my earphone dropped out, so I couldn't even. I mean, you could have been reading out fucking.
I give out the lottery numbers for the future.
Yeah, well, exactly.
But only for for people in England, for the lotto, actually UK. Anyway, all right. So I guess back. Okay, so we're gonna end with rubbish, but we're gonna take a diversion into something slightly interesting. I was at the conference that I attended yesterday. Was it just yesterday? That's so weird. And one of the papers that I saw given was by an academic who I'm trying to convince to come on and talk about the paper. But until he says, okay, I'm not going to sort of say his name. But it's interesting because the paper was on analysis of Jordan Peterson as somebody who has a fandom. And the general idea was to look at Peterson using a framework that had been developed by another academic who, it's a quite common name, but if it's the person that I'm thinking of that he's citing is actually kind of well known as a feminist scholar too, this guy. But he had sort of 4 categories of things that characterize fandoms, and he looked at Jeremy Corbyn, Russell Brand, and then there was a third one that I can't remember. I want to say Ed Miliband, but that kind of doesn't sound right. like you compare Corbyn supporters and Brand Russell fans to Miliband.
Was it another politician?
It was another politician. So this whole thing was developed by like a political theorist, a political scientist who was looking at this phenomenon in this more digital age. And that was the theory that the academic I saw was referencing. So that's already out there and exists, and you can find it presumably now if you have the will. If you have Google Scholar, you might even be able to like look at the abstract. But this person was applying it to Peterson and showing how Peterson fit in basically all the categories that have been set up to describe the fandom of Corbyn and et al. And it was a very interesting paper. But I noticed one thing, which is I was missing in the paper about the politicians, because Russell Brand sells books, but he doesn't make his living off YouTube, and Jeremy Corbyn has a day job. He doesn't. He's not out there raising money.
I think it's worth mentioning. Not only does he have a day job, he follows me on Twitter.
Oh, yes. And so I, during the question time, pointed out, you might also want to think about the unique thing about Peterson is that he's bringing down tens of thousands of dollars from these fans every month. And that has also an element that the politicians or the Russell Brand kind of one didn't. And he took that on and said that was a good observation. It was something he would think about. So yeah, he's still developing the paper and the ideas and fleshing it out and bouncing ideas off of people. And it was just really strange to sort of like sit in a political studies conference session and have him talking about the lobster thing and all the stuff I see on Twitter. It was just very, very odd for me to see Peterson brought into my sphere and analyzed as an object of inquiry.
Well, there's no doubt there's a political there's a base there, isn't there? Clearly. So that has to be taken into account in terms of politics, doesn't it?
Yeah. And if you've got parallels structures that help you understand it and then show you how it's different, that's how you do social science.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can't really add much to the discussion because I haven't read the paper and I don't know.
I don't even think, to be honest, he got up there with like he was so old school. Just like literally with a notepad of paper with notes down both sides of the page. And but he was just nailing it. Like it might as well have been on a PowerPoint. It was that well organized. It wasn't like he was just scribbling it before he got up there. But yeah, it was just very old school to see him like going through his notes and yeah, talking about sort of like looking at the way that Peterson draws from people who came into the atheist movement or maybe have since Hitchens' death sort of become aware of the atheist movement through people like Hitchens and his very hardcore sort of, religion is myth and nonsense. And these same people are also they'll listen to Jordan Peterson and then after they listen to him for a while, they go, oh, actually maybe these Bible stories do have some value. And what it made me think of, I didn't say this in the paper, but there are these kind of alpha males that are put up there that a lot of, I think, especially white, but other too, sort of male atheists kind of look to as almost, their role model and their hero in a sort of pseudo father figure kind of way.
Yeah,
and
it is a pseudo father figure, and that's actually a really astute observation.
Yeah, and Hitchens wasn't really looking to be that, nor was Dawkins, nor is Harris, but I think Peterson is.
Yeah, I think he is. I think he's happy with the kind of like I say, it is a sort of cult that he's built around himself. I think he's absolutely fine with that, which is sort of dangerous. I don't think he means to be dangerous as such, but he is undoubtedly because he's poisoning a lot of people's minds. I read a fantastic article the other day about him. He was a philosophy professor who said the last couple of years, the sort of new intake of undergraduates have come in and started, and he has to essentially deprogram them from their ideas about postmodernism because they've listened to the likes of Peterson, and everything they think they know about postmodernism is totally wrong.
Yep.
It's bollocks. He's essentially lying to students who have an interest in philosophy, and that means that good teaching time, perfectly good teaching time, is having to be wasted essentially
countering,
correcting the lies they've been fed by the likes of Peterson, who, it's worth mentioning, is not a fucking philosopher.
Nope.
He should not be treated as an expert in philosophy. He isn't. He's a fucking moron who rants about fucking lobsters.
And I very cautiously talk about Nietzsche because even though I've watched things on Nietzsche, I haven't read Nietzsche, but especially on the issue of like Nietzsche's epistemology, I spent a lot of time with continental philosophers who talked about a lot of things, and like the slave morality, the eternal return of the same. There's a lot of ideas in Nietzsche that I've heard discussed in conferences that I've attended with my friends presenting and things. I've never heard an epistemological discussion of Nietzsche. So if this whole notion of, I think if I understand it, he says if something is good for life, it's true. I was like, what? I can't be understanding that correctly. That can't be what he just said. And yeah, so if anyone else wants to like explain the whole Nietzsche link, that how Peterson justifies his link to Nietzsche, who is often cited as one of the important groundbreaking people who sort of set up postmodernism.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fucking clown. I have no idea about his psychology stuff, although from some psychologists I've seen, he seems outdated at best, it would appear, but I don't know about that. But certainly in areas where he isn't an expert,
Yeah.
all of the experts say he's basically a liar. And the thing that made him famous, his opposition to Bill C-16, every legal expert I've ever heard, every Canadian legal expert said, no, he's full of shit. You're not going to be imprisoned. And as yet, no one has been fucking imprisoned because of misgendering, including Peterson himself, who would be in prison if that were the case.
Yeah, this guy gave a very generous account of the C-16 thing. Like he didn't spend any time explaining how badly he misrepresented what the impact of the law would be or who would be affected. And I also pointed that out. I'm like, I can get you some videos and some people who know C-16. I mean, it's not important for the article, but it's important for him to know, so that he portrays the factual accounts of what the bill said and what Peterson said accurately. But yeah, so this isn't like it was not, I want to say, like anyway, a hit piece. It was not judgmental. It was a social science analysis of how people react, and the way that they show their support through, for instance, one of the things he pointed to was the way that his fans will break down his really long lectures into like a 7-minute bite-sized segment of something that they think is really important. And he said something crazy, like 4,000 of those videos go up every day.
Oh, wow. Is that
true? Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know where he got that data, but, so all of these behaviors are interesting to social scientists,
Yeah.
And so I don't want people to go away, oh, these academics are coming after Peterson. Like, no, he's a phenomenon in certain circles. And he is therefore, he sort of becomes a person to study, like a Jeremy Corbyn. Of course, he's not running a political party, or, in some cases for New Atheism, Richard Dawkins, so yeah, just to like get people not to have people freak out. But there was a discussion of some academics when his name came up that said, he keeps talking about, just postmodernism. He's like, I don't know anybody in academia who identifies as a postmodernist, maybe some post-structuralists in philosophy departments, but he just really misportrays what's happening in the social sciences and the humanities.
And he also believes that, Italy nearly equalised. I got distracted. Apologies. I'm watching the football. Never mind. Yeah, I don't think he can. Well, he also describes everyone as neo-Marxist, so he clearly doesn't understand what these terms mean. And secondly, I don't think he can complain if academics come after him. Seems though he literally earns tens of thousands of dollars every month going after other academics. So fuck him.
But
and he wanted to set up that thing where you could fucking that database of like postmodernist academics, basically a very very worrying fascistic like hit list of people he doesn't agree with in academia. Fuck him.
Yeah, but this is it. I said to this person, which is why I'm working to keep him anonymous, is that, you are welcome at any time. It's an open invitation to my channel, but just be aware that if Peterson fans hear it, you're probably going to get some blowback, because I know, having worked in these circles long enough, that some people's fans are more rabid than others, and Peterson has some pretty rabid. I mean, they're not neo-Nazi troll kind of level, but they are like, will not feel uninhibited about organizing or calling out an academic and putting potentially pressure on them, or putting pressure on someone they think is criticizing Peterson.
Yeah, and there's always a threat from doxing for these people, no doubt about it.
Yeah. So that was the thing that happened. I thought was really interesting. Like I said, he's got the invitation, and I'll follow up, and also he needs to develop the ideas and check things out and look at more, facts, and you gather more data, basically, reports and his Peterson's videos and accounts and other things. So yeah, that was the thing. And then I guess that kind of does that. Oh, yeah, I shouted out already. I mentioned it briefly, but really go listen to that Godless Mama interview with Wendy. It's really, I think, for people who care about the future of the atheist movement. I'm not saying Wendy is every woman, okay? But there are a lot of women like Wendy, and her experience, she had to endure it, and she was willing to go and talk about it in a public forum so that other people could hear what she went through. And I think that we would be doing her a great disservice to her bravery and honesty if we didn't learn from that and reflect on what we can each do to make sure that when we talk to people, who are coming out of faith as atheists or online in these discussions is, be sympathetic and look around at the kind of situations, whether or not is a chat board of atheists where pictures of women are shared around and commented on, the kind of community that they'll feel comfortable in. So yeah, anyway, I just really wanted to emphasize that because I didn't feel like I gave it enough time before.
Yeah, that's fair enough. If you put a link under the thing, when I mirror I'll probably mirror this tomorrow now, I'll put that underneath and give it a listen as well.
Yeah, and
I can't really comment on it though because I haven't heard it. So.
Yeah, and I haven't done any links because I basically set up this hangout. Like that was after I'd done everything. That was the most I did. So it'll be like tomorrow. I've got some admin on my channel to do. I know I can't be 100% perfect at everything all the time, and I am okay with being imperfect.
Well, and to segue neatly from that, you're going to have slightly more time to be able to do that. You won't be on Twitter as much. So.
Right. Yeah. So because Bering was being awful to Michael Rollins, and then his fans went to bully Michael, and Michael shut down the comments, so they started flagging down his videos, and then he was being very transphobic. Bering was, and says he's not when he clearly is, misgendering Michael and calling him it, dehumanizing him. I had gotten involved with the whole, because Michael did me a solid when I had my Sargon video stupidly flanked down by Sargon fans who couldn't take any criticism of Sargon. He mirrored it and he got a strike, and he wasn't allowed to stream for 3 months because he stood by my side. So I'm gonna have his back when he's right. And he was unfairly flagged, as it was shown by the results. So I don't have any qualms about standing up for what's morally right. But it put me in the pathway of Bering. And I've been, pointing out that he, in his hashtag Bering Mafia video, I've known this for a while, but I haven't had the tech to do video clips on my phone. And now I've got this app that allows me to download from YouTube onto my phone, and then I can edit, like a 16-second clip or a 30-second clip or whatever. So there's this clip of him from that particular video where now I'm going to have to say this carefully because Bering will want to cut it up. But he basically says in there that if you start to get some nice tweets from Bering fans with the hashtag Bering Mafia, it's because because they're saying something like, I'm really tired, but saying what they really mean, or what they're trying to tell you is that Bering said, you should go be, according to Bering, sexually assaulted in a ditch. That's what Bering said, right? Yeah. So edit that, you asshole. And actually, I didn't put the rest of the quote in.
I feel like I should like read it out in your voice and then see if you'll use that.
Yeah, he will.
Enough.
He will. He will. He has people impersonate me.
Okay. So I've got to do it in an American accent and say the exact phrase, right?
Oh,
yeah, I hope you get raped in a ditch. Yeah. That's my impression of someone from Wisconsin.
There you go. All right, that's making it into a Bering video, guaranteed. Hashtag Operation Shiny Object.
Well, did I nail the Wisconsin accent there? I think that was pretty close.
You were pretty Yosemite Sam and less Fargo.
Well, that's close enough. about 2,000 miles. That's fine. That's close enough. That's good.
Yeah, so that's rounding. Yeah, that's European distances. Like, yeah, that's pretty close for America.
Yeah, for America, well, fucking hell, there are Canadian ice hockey derbies that are, 1,000 miles apart. It's ridiculous.
Now, so getting back to the story, otherwise I'll lose my train of thought and forget what I was going to say.
Well, that's what I'm hoping to do.
Always.
I've got you in a weakened position, and I intend to exploit that to
break me
for comedic effect. So there you go.
Oh, I did have.
You can clip that out to make me sound like a rapist as well if you wanted to, I suppose. Fucking hell.
I did have someone tell me that they saw my debate versus Sargon, and their reaction was, I always wondered what would happen when one of these guys would take on an actual academic who knew their stuff, and then I saw it, and it was great.
Well, exactly. Yeah, exactly. He got what? But the thing is, right? He got wiped out by fucking Richard Spencer. Like he's a fucking idiot, and they all are. This is the thing.
Oh, don't take away from my victory, Kevin.
No, I'm not taking away from your victory. I'm just saying, even for the shitlords, like Sargon is a particular sort of weird fish. He's not. He's the Dunning-Kruger effect. He thinks he's a lot better at debating than he actually is. But yeah, you wipe the floor with him. He's brilliant, man.
Yeah. But what I didn't, I should say, but going back to the story for the second time without interruption, I'll just keep talking so you can't interrupt. No, it's fine, Kevin. You're always funny. I didn't leave out. Okay, so he said this phrase, but then at the end he said, because you're an absolutely filthy favorite bearing word that starts with a C. And I took that quote, which again is him saying to people like me and Kevin and Michael, if we get this hashtag bearing mafia, and it's me, and we're getting compliments from people we wouldn't normally get compliments from, it might mean that they're trying to tell us that we should go be all these things, and because we're these absolute filthy whatevers. And I've been sort of like shared that video clip, and I took, because he did his face reveal and Mike Barbarossa showed his face, and I think Patrick really doesn't like having his face out there. So it's not doxing him because he did it himself. It's up on YouTube. Anyone can go watch the video. But I put his quote, just the first part about the sexual assault bit of it. And he replied by taking something that I was quoting somebody else was saying as an insult to condemn it, and attribute it to me, put my picture on it, and said this really awful thing and put my name on it. Like I had said that. Now, Bearing wasn't quoting anyone else. Those were his own words. Those were his instructions to his fans. So I wasn't misrepresenting him. He actually said that was the sentiment. He chose those words. Yeah. I was reading out somebody else's words because they were disgusting to illustrate that. And so I said, that's libel. You're lying. You know that attributing this to me is not true. Just because I quoted someone else saying it, you can't then say I said it, and as if those were my original thoughts and words. And I don't know what happened. Like, I don't follow. I did say, people, this is not only slander and lies, but it was ableist. And it was homophobic or transphobic, one of the two. I can't remember. So many things to remember that were on Twitter. I just, sometimes the details slip.
And that's just that, but it's fascinating whenever he gets up to so much fucking bullshit, and he's already had one of his account terminated, and yet you get put in jail for what is, by comparison, phenomenally mild language.
Yeah. So he got done because his stuff violated the rules of service. And he also, like, I don't know if the Michael stuff was called out, but I think it should have been, because calling Michael an it is clearly harassment and bullying.
He called Michael her on several occasions.
Yeah.
As well. And said, "Oh, well done on coming out." He's not come out. He's gender non-conforming or something. I don't know. I'll let Michael describe it himself. But clearly, he's intending to misgender in order to mock.
Yeah, he's being a bully. So his fans took two responses. One is literally like just asking, which of these videos covering these topics did you watch? Like, that's it. It just has the word, I think, maybe rape culture and sexism in it. Like those are maybe why it sort of got picked up. But literally, you can go read Kevin's tweet because he put it up on Twitter. And the other one was saying, oh, how dumb is Bearing? He's too dumb to ask me. He's too dumb to go do the research and blah, 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 blah. So yeah, you want to say that I was called Bearing dumb? Fine. But if the standard is, if you call someone dumb, and that's the standard for flagging, well, then Bearing is in way more trouble than me. Because you know what? I don't do that on a regular basis, and he does worse on a much regular basis.
Oh, God, yeah.
So I'm appealing.
That kind of language in far worse is a regular part of his vocabulary.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm appealing, but 7 days off of Twitter, I don't care. Lonely Wolf, he comes who's in my Hangouts, is constantly being put in Facebook jail. He is constantly being so I don't whatever. But the fact is that my account is clean because I don't do those kinds of things. People have to false flag me to get this sort of stuff. But Bearing, if he always crosses the line, and then he cries when he's held to account.
Yeah. On the Lonely Wolf constantly point out, my friend Frankie the Skin, who'd done some artwork in the past for me, he's brilliant like that. Every few days I'll see him pop up and he's like, "I'm back, you motherfuckers, ban me again." And then he gets put in jail again, and it's always because it's never like he's not being racist. Quite the opposite. He's being incredibly abusive, I suppose, but towards like Nazis and stuff, and he keeps getting put in jail. So much fun. He enjoys it. He's got about 6 different accounts. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and as long as you open the account, before they ban you, I think it's supposed to be all right. But
well, I don't know, and I don't particularly care.
Yeah. I mean, Twitter is.
Yeah.
But you aren't supposed to open up another account after you've had one shut down.
Well, Bearing did. And
and he did, and then they didn't do anything. Yeah. But the thing is, I read some of the replies to your tweet about the fact that I've been put in Twitter jail. And it's interesting because obviously a Bearing fan was on there saying, well, Kristi got Bearing suspended, so it's only fair that she should be suspended back. You're like, no, it doesn't actually work like that.
Exactly. If you stab someone and get sent to prison, it's only fair that you then wrongly get that person you stabbed into prison as well. That's the way. That's justice, apparently.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
So I mean, that's how they're going to play it. Whatever, I've appealed it, and I think if you just read the text, if you want to, I guess I said, hit me on the dumb comment, then fine. Then every time Bearing calls someone dumb, that's a violation of the terms of service as well.
Well, not just that, but he uses the R word on the regular to mean that, essentially denigrating people with learning difficulties. Ridiculous, but that's fine. Apparently, that's super duper.
So free speech wins again.
Yeah, exactly. You got free speech. Absolutely.
So yeah, like I said, it registers with me about the same level as being blocked by Matt Dillahunty. So I've got like almost 7,000 followers. But they'll be fine for a week without me. You just won't get as much American political updates and obsession with how bad the Republicans are.
Well, true, but I'm now thinking to myself, I know you can't reply, so I might send some silly attack tweets against you, knowing you can't reply.
That'd be a very Kevin thing to do. I'm going to come back and be like, all these people defending me going, why is Kevin hating on Kristi?
Exactly. Exactly. Knowing my fans and yours, there'll be a mixture of people going, ha ha, funny. And, well, no, actually, Kevin, I don't think she did mastermind 9/11 at all. I think that's a disgraceful thing to say. Or something of that nature.
Yeah, they might one-ups you.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. I'm not saying you should definitely go to Kristi at kwinty on Twitter and leave her amusing messages.
Yeah, I can still read through my notifications if you tag me into stuff.
But she can't respond. She can't respond. So attack! Nah, I'm only joking. I'm sure. Well, Bearings fans probably will because they're obsessed anyway.
Yeah. Their guy breaks the rules, so they got to go punch somebody who didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, that's
his hardcore fans. Hashtag not all Bearing fans. All right.
Well, that's the thing. If you're a Bearing fan, you're a fan of bullying, clearly. So the idea of being a bully yourself doesn't seem that much of a stretch anymore.
And this isn't the first time he lied about me. I sent that tweet that was talking about how credible accusations are perfectly acceptable as a basis of conclusion in the court of public opinion. And he sent out a tweet saying that I said all men should have their civil rights taken away from them.
Well, you can click this. I do. I want all men to have their civil rights taken away.
Yeah, I tweeted out about Kevin. Find that tweet.
Exactly. And not just that, but I think all men should be put up against a wall and tickled. So,
like he can't deal with reality. When he did have, the only time he's actually had to deal with reality on YouTube is when everybody called out his shit on his opposition to same-sex marriage.
Yeah. Well, and the Total Drama Island sitch was quite funny as well.
Well, yeah, but that was him just groveling to get his channel back.
Well, yeah, but it was still sort of again, I'm becoming fascinated by with the point at which the shitlord culture meets the real world, like where the tire hits the road, because the real world is going to crush you like a ton of bricks. These are the people that say you shouldn't have a safe space. They want to create for themselves a kind of bro safe space on the internet. Well, I'm sorry, when that comes to the crunch in the real world, it's going to crush you because these people in the real world have the power to put you in a cage for years, as Lord Dankler, Count Dankler, whatever, may very well learn soon.
Earl
Whether,
Dankula.
whether you exactly whether you agree with that or not, that's the way it is. You have to understand that you can't just have your safe space on the internet. The real world will fuck you up.
Can I just say that I didn't understand the hierarchy of nobility until I watched an episode of Elementary where I learned that a marquis is above someone else and below and something. I can't, obviously I didn't learn it that well.
I don't know the exact.
But I just think marquis is the best word.
Yeah,
and
there's like
marchioness. Those are great.
Marquis and a duke, or a duke as it's rightly pronounced in America. Yeah, all of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably like a couple hundred people in the world who are affected by that in any meaningful way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they aren't. I mean, there would have been a few hundred very powerful people at one point, and now there are a few hundred anachronistic nothings for the most part, really.
Well, I was thinking because I have no time, but if I had more time, I wanted to do not a book review, but an author review of Alison Weir, whose focus is British history, and in particular women in British history. So she's got so many books. She's got books on Elizabeth and Mary Queen of Scots, Eleanor of Aquitaine, Isabel the She-Wolf, the Wars of the Roses, and all that sort of classic stuff that I gobble up. I love it.
I don't know if you've seen it. There's a BBC4 series, and I can't remember the woman's name who does it, but it was about warrior queens, and it was about queens of England throughout the many centuries, and that was fascinating because you don't ever, outside of some exceptional circumstances like Elizabeth I or whatever, you rarely hear of them. But actually, they've been incredibly powerful and influential people in their own way.
Yeah, like Matilda. Did she cover Matilda? And Stephen.
Yeah,
I think I did see that.
One of the first episodes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What's her name? That's really annoying.
Anyway, yeah, she's done a couple other history. I've seen her as a historian on like some other stuff
got
too.
A sort of lisp or some sort of slight speech impediment, which is not a problem. I'm mentioning it
because it stands out.
Anyone out there might be able to tell me in the chat, and they're not telling me.
Tell you in the chat while you're doing a live hangout and watching the footy. Or football, which is it?
Football's finished, 1-1, annoying. Okay. The fucking virtual reality, not virtual reality, what do you call it? Virtual assistant referee. They get to watch replays now, and they gave Italy a penalty in the last 5 minutes. Really annoying. Anyway.
Oh.
Someone mentioned the Marquis de Sade in the chat. The Marquis de Sade, I believe I'm right in saying, a funny little story. He was supposed to have been in the Bastille on the storming of the Bastille. But he'd been transferred to another prison because he was shouting rude obscenities at ladies through a tube out of his window. Yeah,
that guy was something.
Yeah. He sounds like a shitlord before the internet, or penicillin.
I read some of his work in French. It was in the library, and I was like, "What is up with this?" And it was pretty shocking. I'll just leave it at that. Okay, so moving on. Wow, this conversation has been a true pub chat. Like
this has been nonsense.
Like we might as well be, like 4 or 5 pints in. Well, at least I feel them, and the effects of jet lag on the brain are
exactly.
I think,
whereas I'm there naturally. That's my resting heart rate is 5 pints in, to be
honest. Kevin. I wished my smile made sounds because I smile big, but I don't always laugh. And so I'll try to channel that smile.
No.
Well, hey.
Yeah.
Hey, we're at the top of the hour. So I've talked a lot and I've dominated all of the themes in terms of like it being about me or things that I care about.
But it's I wanted to do that because it was stuff that happened. Like, for those who don't know, I suggested that we do the thing tonight. Or certainly put it forward. Because I wanted to hear what you had to say on these things because it's sort of vaguely related to you. So yeah, there we go. We've had things.
So you could tell me I was wrong about Matt Dillahunty.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
Kristi, what do you think? So I can tell you.
Exactly. Not arguing. Not
Yeah, yeah,
arguing the point. Telling
yeah.
you
No, I
people
know.
are translating you. But we've done other ones. Like when we did a breakdown of the Richard Spencer discussion. I talked a lot during that. So it depends really. What we've both been up to, isn't it? Really?
What's topical?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that's it, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we'll talk afterwards. You guys don't get to get that part. That's where Kevin and I say what we really think.
Exactly. Exactly. You should hear what she says about you. She hates every one of you. You're scum.
The facade drops and I talk about everybody in the chat. I just, why they piss me off. It's like Festivus. Every time we get off air, it's like, I got a lot of problems with these people.
Whereas before it's like that classic clip of what's his face? Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Yes,
we'll do it live.
Bill O. Oh God, so happy he's gone. It's so nice. The air is fresher.
Well, I'll be more happy when he goes full time, as it were. That'll be fun.
Occasionally, people will say, "Oh, I kind of miss Sargon being on Twitter because I'd want to give him shit about this." And I was like, "No, you don't. You're like, you think you do, but you don't."
Yeah.
All right. Well, I have to do that thing now, right? Where I talk and I do the whole wrap up.
Yeah.
All right. Let me put on a voice.
Just for a laugh, you just go, "Oh, fuck off," and press the end button. Just leave it there.
No, it won't feel complete. It won't feel done. So, hey, if you
she's got presenter OCD as well. Nice, nice.
Yeah. Okay. Well, also, I learned, divergent. When I was studying about how to build a YouTube community or get more people to follow you or whatever, one of the things they talk about is building a language. So having certain things that you establish,
like Elvish. What?
Like potato, like you and potato, or you being Kurt Logan.
Oh, okay.
Those are sort of like, this is a discourse. It's a discourse you build up so that people, they get the jokes, but people who don't get the jokes immediately can still enjoy the content. And if they follow it, they'll start to get the joke. And the other thing too was to have like a consistent closing, because people reported that when they watched videos that didn't have the closing, it didn't feel like the video was done. They felt unsatisfied. And I've actually had that. Like there've been times I've forgotten to say something and someone said, but you didn't say we were awesome. It was so sweet.
Yeah, but why give in to the trolls? If what I tried to do on they don't deserve it.
And that's how you love them. That's how you show them.
Yeah. Tough love. It's tough love. I'm preparing them for the real world. I'm preparing them for the inevitable heartache that is life.
It's like when Rick explains to Summer and Morty they're equally shit, but in different ways. So it doesn't really matter. Like, stop pretending like, or trying to get the affection of being the favorite of Grandpa.
God.
I don't know. Have you seen Rick and Morty?
No, because
I have to see Rick and Morty.
No, the fan base are fucking.
Don't worry about the fan base. Don't judge an art by its fan base, Kevin.
Distilled cancer. Yeah, but I mean, if it's attracting that kind of audience,
but all video games aren't bad because of Gamergate shitheads. There are still awesome video games out there, and Tim should play more of them, like the zombie game. Play season 4, Tim. Damn you!
The more and more I was always a grumpy old man before my time, but the more and more I see of people, the more and more I think, would the apocalypse actually be a bad thing? I don't know.
Well,
I'm ambivalent, to be honest.
All I'm going to say is, there is a level of, is misanthropy the right word I'm looking for?
Possibly.
In Rick and Morty, that you will find a kindred soul.
Well, people have told me that in the past, but it feels like if I'm gonna really get into a show that has like multiple series and all the rest of it, it needs to be not the kind of shit that gets fucking shitlords to riot over Szechuan sauce or whatever. Like that seems like that's a waste of my time. I'd rather cut off parts of my fucking body instead.
That's like
it's just, yeah. Anyway.
I don't know. That sounds like I'm not going to go enjoy a great piece of art because the artist did shitty things. I think art can be separate, well, especially from the fans. But hey, you know what? You've got your position, and all I'm going to say is you're the one who's missing out. And so I just, I feel sad for the jokes you're not going to laugh at.
No, I'm fine because there's so much in the world that I already love. Like if it's potentially risking several million hours or whatever of what on that show, or
Just watch season 3. They're 20-minute episodes. There's like 10 of them. You're looking at like at most a Sunday afternoon when ITV has nothing on.
Or chilling with Rory Cats. I know
you can do both.
Rory Cats, well, not really.
I'm going to come to Birmingham, and we're going to hang out, and I'm going to force you to watch Rick and Morty.
If you're going to come to Birmingham, you're going to have to learn how to pronounce it properly, because you will. That will be an issue for you.
Birmingham.
Sure. Birmingham. Yeah.
Birmingham. Yeah, it's like Edinburgh.
Yeah,
no, Edinburgh. Nobody calls it Edinburgh.
Yeah. Or Edinburgh, I've heard.
Do you want to hear the sweetest thing I heard? So I was in the States. I had a friend with me who was British. He heard the British accent. And he's like, oh, yeah, I really like, yes, football, as you call it, because, he was all hip to the European lingo. And he's like, yeah, I really like Tottenham Spurs.
Oh, no. Oh, God, kill it with fire. Oh, my toes.
Sweet.
My toes are actually. My toes are curling with cringe. Oh, Lord. Oh, bless him.
Now, do you want to say for the people in the States who don't realize why Tottenham is not the way it's pronounced, the correct pronunciation to the British ear?
Tottenham. Yeah, it's just Tottenham. But there's lots of stuff like that. Like Worcester is Worcester. Just Worcester.
Yeah.
And my favourite, it's spelled Towcester. It's pronounced toaster.
Well, I lived over in East Anglia, and I don't know what the linguistic influence is, but I, for a while, lived in a village called Wivenhoe, but very close to Wivenhoe was Fingeringhoe.
Yeah, Fingeringhoe. Yeah, that's an actual place that exists.
Yep.
There is genuinely in Ireland, there's a town called Muff, and you can literally go bug diving in Muff. That's an actual thing you can do.
It would be wrong if you couldn't.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you'd have to build a bug for them to go diving in if it didn't already exist.
I think the bartender is ringing the bell again because we're 7 minutes over time, but...
yeah, well, absolutely, yeah.
All right, so finish that one up.
Yeah. There are several very amusing place names in Britain. So.
Yeah, we could go on a really long list of amusing place names, so we'll save that for another trivia night. Pub quiz.
Yes.
Knowledge. All right, so all right, so now I'm gonna do the outro thingy. So don't say anything until I give you the signal. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this content and you want to support this channel, you can always throw a tip in my tip cup.
If you enjoyed this content, what the fuck is wrong with you? Seriously.
By going to the Patreon link in the description box below and clicking on that. You can join for as little as $1 a month, but more is lovely, of course. And then you can also join me once a month for my patron hangout.
Go and buy drugs instead. Go and buy lots of drugs.
That's a good argument, to be honest. I'm not going to say that that's not a better argument. Yeah. But for those who waste their money on me and not drugs, they get to hang out with me once a month in a hangout, and also be part of the Resistance Fund. Where we're funding progressive
Kristi and Kev's Happy Hour was sponsored by crack.
For all the people in the chat who don't give money, just like, yep, I'm going to go spend that on something way more fun. Yeah, especially if you live in California or Colorado, where you get to go to the shops and you get like just racks of different types of weed that you get to choose from, like the spice racks. It'd be amazing.
Or if you live in one of the top 10 cities in America that's a state capital, go and buy crack. That's my advice to the people of Phoenix, Arizona.
There's a crack theme tonight. All right, so thank you guys for your time and attention. I do appreciate you watching. I have been tired. And silly, you have been awesome. Kevin has been an interference and a gadfly, and one of my favorite people in the world. Thanks to you guys in the chat.
That sounds like my mom's description of me too.
I think there's triangulation here. I think we're coming to truth. Yes. Goodbye from me. So thanks to the guys in the chat. Thanks to the viewers in the future. Goodbye from me, and goodbye from Kevin. Say goodbye, you magnificent bastard.
Goodbye, you magnificent bastard.
Goodbye, everyone.